Good morning. So in the last topic, we talked about how the butler showed ingratitude to the kind crofter by stealing his money and running away. So we'll continue from there. And the topic that we are going to discuss is the vagabond gets lost in the forest. Vagabond, butler, tramp, all these are synonyms which you can use for the main character in this story. Okay, so the butler was quite pleased with his smartness of stealing the money from the crofter. And he was quite happy that he was able to get some money for himself after a long time. He avoided the public highway and turned into the woods, as he felt he would be safer and no one would be able to catch him. So if we look into what he had thought about the world, now he himself has fallen into the trap. And the money that he had seen with the crofter acted as the bait for him to get caught in that trap. So with that 30 kroner, now he did not feel safe. Usually he would roam everywhere freely without any fear. Now he was afraid of moving freely in the towns or cities with the money. So to avoid being caught with the money, he decided to avoid highway and go into the woods, which he thought would be safer for him. So it is very ironical that he had thought about the world, whole world, as being a trap, rat trap, into which we get caught due to the attraction of the baits, like the money, pleasure, love, and riches. Now he himself has been caught in that trap. So it was a big and confusing forest, okay? But what he noticed was the forest was not as safe as he had thought, because it was very big and confusing. So he tried to walk in a definite direction, but the path twisted back and forth so strangely that he was perplexed. Okay, so this means he was unfamiliar to the forest, and it was very thick, and the paths that he was not so familiar twisted back and forth, and it completely confused him. He decided to walk in a definite direction, but he could not decide whether he was taking the correct direction or not. So it completely perplexed him, confused him. He walked on and soon realized that he had been walking around in the same part of the forest. So after walking for a long time, what he realized is that he was not proceeding into any definite direction. He was actually going round and round in the same forest and coming to the same place from where he had started. So he was completely now lost in the forest. So if we look into the story again, the forest is again acting as that rat trap into which we get caught. So that is again very ironical. All at once he recalled his thoughts about the world being a rat trap. Okay, now he realized that he had actually been caught in the rat trap, about which he had thought earlier when he had seen the rat traps near his feet. Now he realized that the whole world is like a rat trap, and human beings get attracted by the baits, like the money, as I said, and he himself has been caught in that situation. Okay, and now here not only the 30 kroner that he had stolen from the crofter is acting as that bait which has caught him into the trap, rat trap, or the world as a trap, but the forest, the confusing forest, is also acting as that trap. which is holding him and not letting him go free. Now his own turn had come. He had let himself be fooled by the bait and had been caught in the rat trap. Unknowingly, or maybe because of his greed for the money, he had let himself fooled, and now he himself is caught in the rat trap, which he had thought earlier. The entire forest with its trees, trunks, and branches seemed to him like the prison that offered no escape. So it was almost impossible for him to get away from the forest and go into the city or the town and move freely, because now for him the whole forest seemed like a prison in which he was caught and from where there is no way for escape. So what happened is the next topic. The butler meets the ironmaster, declines his invitation. This is again an important topic. Finally, he saw no way out. So giving all hope of getting away safely from the forest and out of exhaustion, what he did is he sat down and tried to think that his last moment had come. He was very tired, exhausted, and now he did not see any hope of getting away from that forest. So he sat down and thought that his last moment had come, that he was going to die in the forest. But luckily, what happened is when he sat down and started thinking, he heard a sound. And what was that sound? The sound of a regular thumbing of a hammer. So the sound of a beating of a hammer was heard by him while he was sitting down and thinking about his future. And maybe that sound was a very welcoming sound for him. Okay? He realized that the sound was coming from an iron mill, and we know that there is an iron mill. So he summoned all his strength and walked in the direction of the sound. So it provided him some hope and relief that there is possibility that he is very close to a iron mill, and it is possible that he will get help to get out of the confusing forest. So what did he do is he summoned all his strength, used all his strength to get up and walk towards the place from where the sound was coming. And he also knows, like us, he also knows that there is a iron plant, you can say, iron plant or iron mill close by, which belonged to a person called Ramshaw. He had heard about that from the crofter. So he was very hopeful that he will get to that place, and from where he could move away from the forest. So he reached the Ramshaw Iron Works. Okay, so as we have learned before, it was a big iron plant with all the necessary equipment. So he entered the iron works amidst the different sounds coming from the work going on in full swing. So in the iron work, there were many people, smiths, blacksmiths, doing their own work, and different sounds were coming from different parts of the mill. And as he went inside, nobody actually paid any attention to him, because it was not an unusual sight to see a tramp like him to get some shelter and warmth in cold days. So nobody paid any special attention to him. So it was usual. It was not unusual. It was usual for vagrants, another synonym for peddler, vagabond, tramp. Vagrants like him to be attracted by the warmth and shelter of the forge. So he was ignored by the blacksmiths. Nobody paid any special attention. It was usual for poor people to come there for warmth and for shelter. So nobody paid any special attention. He was allowed to come inside. And when he asked the master blacksmith to let him stay for the night, he was given the permission, okay, to spend the night there. Soon the ironmaster came into the forge for his inspection and noticed the vagabond. So as he was staying there, getting warmth from the forge, soon he saw the ironmaster, the owner of Ramshaw iron mill, come there for his inspection, daily inspection, and saw the vagabond. Now it is important for us to see what was his reaction. To see the butler there. How did he react? How did he feel? Okay, so this is important. This is a brief character sketch of the ironmaster. Sometimes in the exams you are asked to write character sketches. We have here a brief character sketch of the ironmaster, which is given in points. But in the examinations, you should not write them in points like this. You need to expand these points into a paragraph or 2 paragraphs. Because this is English, it is a bit different from other social subjects. You need to elaborate and do not mention as it is given here. These are given for you to elaborate. Ramshaw's Ironworks, the ironmaster. He was a rich person, owner of a large iron factory named Ramshaw Ironwork. And what is important for you to know is his ambition was to ship out good iron to the market. And he was kind and friendly, was in the military in his younger days. This is again very important, okay? He was in the military in his younger days. And he was not very observant, not a good judge of character. When he mistakes the Rattrap seller as his old friend, he tried to help him. He did not insult him because of his worn out condition. He took him to his own house and cared for him. When he realized his mistake, he was angry with the poor man, wanted to throw him out of his house. Nevertheless, on his daughter's request, he behaved nicely. We are going to learn about all these as we move on. So this is what he observed, okay? The ironmaster observed or saw the vagabond there at his iron mill. And now let us move on to his reaction. How did he feel? The ironmaster was very happy to see the vagabond. Why? Because he mistook the butler in the dim light for an old regimental comrade and addressed him as Niels Olive. So the light was dim inside, and in that dim light, he mistook the butler for an old friend from his army days. And he thought it was an old friend called Niels Olive, and he was very happy to see him there. The butler, when he was addressed as Captain Niels Olive by the ironmaster, the butler didn't try to clear the doubt. Why? Because he thought that the ironmaster will give him some money. Again, there is the bait of greed there. Again, he is thinking about getting more money from the ironmaster. So for that purpose, he was not honest with the ironmaster. He did not reveal that he was actually not Niels Olive as he had been called by the ironmaster. He actually hid his own identity in the hope of getting some extra money. The ironmaster invited the butler to his manor house. So ironmaster thought the butler was an old friend. So what he did was he invited the butler to his house. Now for this invitation, what was the reaction of the butler? Let us see. Okay? The butler thought that going to the manor house with the 30 kroner would be like throwing himself voluntarily into the lion's den. throwing himself voluntarily into the lion's den. What does this mean? This is a metaphor. Okay, so this means putting oneself into danger. So when he was invited to the ironmaster's house, he thought that going there would be putting himself into danger because he was carrying the stolen 30 kroner with him. And there is every possibility that he might get caught, or his theft might get revealed, or maybe he even might have thought that his own 30 kronos may get stolen. So he thought it was like throwing himself into the lion's den, putting himself into risk, putting himself into danger. So what did he do? He declined the invitation. Okay, so he said, no, I couldn't think of it. He decided to decline the invitation. He refused the invitation. Ironmaster sends his daughter Atla to persuade the Battler. Sorry, the daughter's name Atla is misspelled. It is E-D-L-A, not E-R-L-A. But the ironmaster was a very kind man, and he was happy to see an old friend after a long time, and he wanted to do something for him because he had seen the condition of the battler. He was in a very pathetic condition, so he wanted to do something for an old friend. Okay, so the ironmaster assumed that the battler felt embarrassed because of his miserable condition. Okay, so the ironmaster concluded that the battler was feeling embarrassed because of his present condition, his shabbiness. So what did he do? He tried to convince the battler that there is nothing to feel ashamed of his present condition. So what did he say? He said, please don't think that I have such a fine home that you cannot show yourself there. He tried to comfort the battler by informing him that there was nothing to be ashamed of. And he further added that there were not many people living in his home. Okay, he further told him that his wife Elizabeth was dead, his sons were settled abroad, and he lived with his daughter Atla alone in the manor house. So the battler did not have to feel ashamed. So in a way, he is trying to convince the battler that he could actually come to the manor house and stay with them comfortably without any shame or uneasiness. But the tramp constantly refused to go with him because we know he was thinking about the 30 kroner and he thought it was not safe for him to go to the manor house with that 30 kroner. So he refused. The ironmaster went away, but he was not deterred by the battler's persistent refusal. Okay? As the tramp was very persistent about not going to the manor house, the ironmaster went away. But still, he did not give up the idea of getting the battler to his house. So what did he do? He sent his daughter to persuade the battler. Okay? He sent his daughter Atla to persuade the battler to come and spend the night, Christmas Eve, with them. So Atla came to the ironworks in a carriage followed by a valet carrying a fur coat. Okay, so she came there with a carriage to take the battler home, and she was followed by a valet, a servant who was carrying a fur coat in his hand to offer to the battler. So all this indicates the kindness of the father and daughter. She found the man alarmed and frightened. But when she went to the ironworks and the vagabond saw her, he was suddenly frightened and alarmed. He felt suspicious, frightened. Okay, so when she saw him in this condition, what did she conclude? She sensed that his fear conveyed that he was either a thief on the run or an escapist prisoner. So from his mannerism, from his attitude of suspiciousness and fright, she thought that he displayed the characteristics of a person who is on the run, like a thief or a prisoner escaped from prison. This is what she felt on seeing the butler. But still, she was very kind to him. She talked to him very kindly and with so much respect and honor. She even called him Captain. Okay? She says, "I'm sorry, Captain, that you are having a hard time. Please stay with us over Christmas Eve. You will be allowed to leave us just freely as you come." So this conversation is important. Okay, she is showing her understanding nature. She is highly respectful to the butler, and she even tells him that he could spend the Christmas Eve with them, and whenever he wishes, he could leave their house. Still, she was very friendly and kind to the butler. Okay, so her friendly manner attracted the butler. Okay. The butler felt confidence in her and accepted the invitation. So eventually he decided to go to the manor house and spend the Christmas Eve with the ironmaster and his daughter. He felt guilty and cursed himself for stealing the crofter's money. So now we are getting to that point where love and understanding has the ability to awaken human goodness. So when somebody was very kind to him, respectful to him, showing love and kindness, now for the first time he felt guilty about stealing the money from the crofter who was also very kind to him. The spark has already started, and we need to read on to see how that small spark turns into a fire. Okay, so we'll stop here for your writing exercise to remember, okay? Answer these questions briefly. You can refer to the video and answer these questions, and we will continue. Thank you.